This is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday, January 25th. Tuesday mornings, we have a chance to catch up with what is going on in Washington with U.S. House Representative Fred Upton, who represents Allegan County in the U.S. House. He's on the other side of our Zoom connection this morning. Fred, good morning. Hope all is well in the snowy West Michigan that you are at.
It is snowy. We have a winter watch down here, not as long as up in Holland, but I noticed that the roads are going to be in Kalamazoo a little bit later today, and I noticed that 94 has got a lot of slowdowns, and we got to drive slow. You're right. That's why I have a Jeep. I love my Jeep.
Good idea to have that. Let me ask you a practical question more than anything else, because tax season, quote unquote, began this week. If constituents have problems dealing with the IRS and maybe they try to deal with it directly, how much can your office help in terms of maybe cutting some of the red tape and some of the problems in an IRS situation?
Well, it's actually a pretty big issue for us. Out of my two district offices, Kalamazoo and St. Joe, I have one staffer, Corey Hansen. This is his specialty. He's dealing with IRS. I was in the office yesterday. I'll be in again this morning before I head to Kalamazoo. But he has got, I would say, probably 70 or 80 at least IRS cases. We had a real issue when COVID started, and that they just didn't have people that processed particularly the quarterly taxes. Those envelopes, checks sat in a truck trailer out in Kansas for months. And then, of course, people got dunning notices. Oh, we didn't get your payments on time, so therefore you owe plus interest. It took months for that to get resolved. So we acted as an intermediary with the IRS, trying to make sure that assets weren't seized, that type of thing. We're able to help, sometimes expedite, but if everyone came to us, I suppose everybody would. But, things that fall through the cracks, we just there's a special IRS liaison office for all the congressional offices. So it's more than a routine matter. And obviously, it's very important to individuals as well as companies. The rules are more complex than ever before. I mean, we had the issues with the PPP funds. We had the issues with the tax credits for kids, all those different things, lots of different questions. So we're able to help and try to resolve some pretty tough cases, and often see a nice sizable refund come back to people when it's due.
Now, the thing is, we've been hearing from some IRS officials saying that this year is going to be a bit of a slowdown, not only because of the backlog from last year, but also because they're a little bit understaffed. They've been wanting more resources to do their job, and it implies that they're not getting the help from Congress on this.
Well, they have a pretty big budget. We're still operating right now under what's called a continuing resolution. That is, because the Senate didn't pass a single appropriation bill on time. Actually, they still haven't passed any, I don't think. But we passed them all in the House. But we're under this thing called the CR, a continuing resolution. Started October 1st. We've had a couple of them now. It expires February 18th. No real discussions have taken place, but obviously we don't want to shut down. But what happens then is you have a freeze of spending in every account. So whether it's Congress, whether it's foreign aid, whether it's defense, whether it's the IRS, they are not able to go above and beyond what they got in fiscal year 21. Fiscal year 22 started October 1st. So they're in essence, they're under a freeze. And like every employer, I mean, tell me an employer that isn't looking for folks, whether you're working at a restaurant, a hotel, a tool and die company. I mean, every employer is looking for people, including the federal government. So there's a request in. I'm sure, we haven't seen the President Biden's budget request yet, but I'm sure that they're going to be looking for an increase. You got to pay people more to have them work. So it's an increasing budget. And when you're under a freeze, that's a little bit tough.
Now, speaking about asking for aid, we've gotten a report on our wire service that the National Restaurant Association will be asking Congress to replenish the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. That's a $28.6 billion fund that is to help restaurants who have been suffering during the COVID-19 pandemic. How much can that get? And, when do we have to say, yeah, we'd like to replenish it, but we also have to be fiscally responsible?
Well, there's discussions that are ongoing. I'm not part of that. You'll remember that we had a couple of COVID packages under President Trump. They were all bipartisan, passed overwhelmingly, usually over 400 votes. I think all of us, but maybe Amash in Michigan voted for it when he was still in the Congress. Biden then pushed one last package about a year ago, in fact. And I opposed it. So did I think all the Republicans, I think, voted against it in large part because we hadn't completed spending the money from the earlier packages. We had a lot of questions about it. The Biden administration pushed it through in a partisan vote, both the House and the Senate. I watched some of the Sunday talk shows this past week. I know Michigan still has billions of dollars, from what I heard, still in an account that hasn't been spent yet. But the restaurant industry has been harder hit probably than just about any other. I mean, they still have spaces, spatial seating. We had the shutdown, obviously, here in Michigan early on. That's not the case now. But takeouts didn't make up for the in-seating part. And of course, no one's going to order a drink and drive. They better not anyway. And of course, that's a major source of revenue for restaurants when they were shut down. So the National Restaurant Association told us a year or two ago, and this is an issue that the Problem Solvers Caucus dealt with. We had the president of the National Restaurant Association, and they told us that it wouldn't be until third or fourth quarter of 22 or maybe even 2023 until they would fully recover. I mean, again, they're looking for help. They're looking for staff. The numbers aren't there. I saw a report already this morning on, I think it was the Today Show, with fast food restaurants. The costs are going up dramatically. Of course, people have to pay them more. These are no longer, quote, hamburger jobs at your minimum wage. They're often starting at $17, $18 an hour. Those costs get passed through the system. That's why you have this thing called inflation, and it costs more to eat out, just like it costs more to go to Myers to get your groceries. So big issue. I don't know whether it will be included, if we are able to resolve the continuing resolution by February 18th, and we don't have a lot of legislative days left. You notice that I'm in my home now before I go out on the road for the rest of the day and frankly, the rest of the week. We have only 4 full legislative days between now and February 18th. When discussions haven't really started between Republicans and Democrats, between the House and the Senate on how we're going to get out of this CR to avoid a government shutdown, and hope we don't have another CR. I hope that we actually get the job done. This may be part of that, is trying to get people to support it. We'll see. But right now, there's just talk. There's really nothing on paper.
He is Congressman Fred Upton. He joins us Tuesday mornings, talk about some of the things going on in Washington. Fred, as always, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for your responses. And if all goes well, let's do this again next week.
We'll certainly try. Sounds good to me.
Sounds good. Thank you, Fred Upton, on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.